Today we are going to discuss our next topic from the colligative property where we left in the previous video. We have already done some of the colligative properties, so if you haven't seen, then just click on the I button and just see all the properties. Okay, so we have already discussed about the relative lowering of vapor pressure. We have already discussed about the elevation in boiling point and depression in freezing point. So only one colligative property is left, that is osmotic pressure. So let's see that what is this colligative property all about. Now as you can see, this is osmotic pressure. Now before osmotic pressure, you need to know what is the meaning of osmosis. So for that I am making this diagram so that you can understand. Suppose there is a container, okay, and in that container there is a separation between them and there is a kind of a membrane which is placed over it. This membrane is known as semi-permeable membrane. Okay, the name is semi-permeable membrane. Now semi-permeable membrane means that it is a kind of a membrane which can allow only selective particles to pass through. Okay, and basically it will not allow the minute particles to pass through. Okay, so this is our semi-permeable membrane. Okay, and here suppose we have kept one solution with concentration C1 and here another solution is there which is of concentration C2. Okay, so C1 and C2 are the concentration of the solution. Now what is happening here, suppose the concentration of C1 is greater than C2, it means that number of moles of solute, okay, is going to be more in case of C1 as compared to the number of moles of solute in C2. Okay, what we want to say that C1 is having more number of solute as compared to C2. Now generally when it is going to happen, then what can happen, that solute which are here at very high concentration, that is solute particles which are at very high concentration, will move from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, that is from C1 to C2, and the solvent molecule which is more on C2 because it is a diluted solution, less amount of solute, it means solvent will be more. So solvent will try to move opposite to that, that is from the region of the higher concentration of solvent to the region of lower concentration of solvent. So both will try to do that, but solute cannot move because it's a semi-permeable membrane and solute will be not allowed to pass through the semi-permeable membrane. And solvent can, that is solvent can move from this region to this region, that is where the solvent is more, it is going to move to the lower region. So basically what is happening, that is movement of solvent from the lower concentrated solution to the region of higher concentrated solution. So basically this is happening here, that is solvent molecules are moving from the region of the lower concentrated solution to the region of the higher concentrated solution, and this phenomena, that is the movement of the solvent molecule from the region of the lower concentrated solution to the region of higher concentrated solution, is known as osmosis. Okay, so this is the phenomena which is happening here when we are having our two solutions with different concentration separated with semi-permeable membrane, so that solute cannot move, but solvent can move from the region of the lower concentrated solution to the region of higher concentrated solution. In other words, you can understand like that from diluted solution to the concentrated solution, okay, because solvent is more there and less on this side. So that is known as osmosis. So in order to understand this osmotic pressure, this osmosis is also required to be understood. So you understand what is the meaning of osmosis? Now suppose we want to prevent osmosis, okay, we don't want that osmosis can take place, so we want to prevent osmosis. So if we want to prevent osmosis, then we need to apply, just see here on this figure, we need to apply pressure, okay, we need to apply the pressure on the wall of semi-permeable membrane in order to prevent osmosis. So the pressure which can just prevent the osmosis, that is the movement of solvent from region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration, is known as osmotic pressure. So the pressure which is required to prevent osmosis is known as osmotic pressure, okay. So the pressure which is required to prevent osmosis is known as osmotic pressure, okay. It is just the pressure required. It will prevent osmosis. It will stop the movement of solvent from the region of the lower concentration to the region of higher concentration, okay. So that is known as osmotic pressure. So this we are going to discuss here, okay. Once again, there is a semi-permeable membrane, two concentrated solution, okay. Solvent is moving from the region of lower concentration to the region of higher concentration. We apply pressure on the wall of semi-permeable membrane to prevent that, and that the minimum pressure which is required to prevent that is known as osmotic pressure, okay. So now we are going to discuss about the osmotic pressure. So just see here. Now, so when we are going to discuss about the osmotic pressure is denoted by a symbol pi, okay. Osmotic pressure is denoted by a symbol pi, and basically osmotic pressure, that is pi, depends upon some factors, that is how much pressure is required to be applied, that depends upon some factors. So first factor on which the osmotic pressure depends, that it is directly proportional to the C. C means concentration of solution, okay, concentration of solution. It means that greater the concentration of the solution, greater is the osmotic pressure required to be applied, because if there is a greater difference in the concentration of the two components, then greater osmotic pressure is required to prevent that. That is one thing. So this is the first factor. Then osmotic pressure is also proportional to T. T stand for temperature, okay. It means if the temperature is more, then the movement of the particles are also going to be more, because if the temperature is going to be more, means we'll be having greater kinetic energy, and greater kinetic energy means the particles can move more faster, or more number of particles can move. Then we need to apply more osmotic pressure to prevent that, okay. So it means the osmotic pressure is going to be proportional to the temperature also. So that is the second point. If you combine the 2 points together, that pi is going to be proportional to C and T. And when you remove the sign of proportionality, a constant will appear here, which is R, okay. R, if you remember, is a gas constant, okay. You have done this in grade 11, gas constant. So finally the formula will be like this. C, also you know that it is number of moles of solute present in per liter of solution. So the formula can be like this also, pi equal to N on V RT, where again I am saying N means number of moles of solute, okay, and V is volume of solution, okay. And generally the unit of the osmotic pressure is going to be ATM, atmospheric pressure, okay. Then gas constant value R, you know, 0.0821 liter. Why I am putting liter? Because volume is is going to be in liter only. Okay, so and N value is, that is number of moles, is going to be there. So liter and ATM, then it will be like liter, ATM and per Kelvin and per mole. So this is going to be the unit for the gas constant here, that is liter, ATM per Kelvin per mole. So that is how you can calculate the osmotic pressure. If you know the concentration of the solution, temperature value, that should be in Kelvin, and volume of the solution also, and number of moles of the solute added, that is also the concentration. If you want to use the molar mass, then you can use the value like given mass of the solute divided by the molar mass of the solute, then into the volume of the solution, and gas constant and temperature. Volume of the solution should be in liter. If it is not in liter, then convert it into liter by dividing it with 1000, as we have done in the case of the molarity also. Okay, so that can be the formula. So like that we can calculate the osmotic pressure. Okay, so that is one thing. Now we are going to discuss a very, very important topic, that is known as abnormal molar mass. For the abnormal molar mass, and one more thing is there, that is Vent Hoff factor. It's going to be there. So we have to first of all understand that what is this Vent Hoff factor and what is abnormal mass, because numerical used to come from that part. That is very, very important, but if you will try to understand, it's very easy. Okay, so first of all I will explain you with example. Like suppose when we were preparing any solution, okay, while preparing any solution we were considering, like suppose we are preparing glucose solution, okay, or we are preparing any other solution like cane sugar solution, okay, or we are preparing like urea solution. Now all these kind of the solution, whatever the molar mass of the substance we are using to prepare the solution, after the preparation of the solution it will remain same. But sometime when we are using the electrolyte for preparing the solution, like suppose we are using NaCl, okay, or we use like MgCl2, okay, or we can use like Al2SO4 whole thrice. These are basically what? These are basically electrolytes. Okay, so in case of electrolyte, when you are preparing solution, there may be some problem come. Like I can tell you, if suppose you have used urea, okay, and you have taken the 1 mole of urea to prepare the solution. So once the solution is going to be prepared, in that solution the moles of urea will remain 1 mole. Okay, but suppose if you have taken 1 mole of NaCl to prepare the solution, which is an electrolyte. So when it will be dissolved to prepare the solution, it will dissociate in the form of ions, that is Na plus ion and chloride ion. Understand? Urea is going to be remaining same, but NaCl, which is an electrolyte, I am giving the example of NaCl, it will be dissociates in the form of ions. Now the thing is that before preparation of solution we have used 1 mole of NaCl, but once the solution is prepared, suppose we considered that all the NaCl particles will be dissociated. It means suppose we are considering that 100% particles are going to be dissociated. So if the particles are going to be 100% dissociated, then in this case 1 mole of Na plus will be appearing and 1 mole of chloride ion will be appearing. Okay, so before the solution we considered the solute will be of 1 mole, but once the solution is prepared, in the solution the number of moles of solute in the solution become total 2 mole. It means now if you calculate the value by using 1 mole of NaCl, any colligative property, suppose you calculate elevation in boiling point or depression in freezing point or relative lowering of vapor pressure, any colligative property if you calculate, you are using 1 mole of NaCl. So it means you will be having, suppose, calculated value of colligative property as X, okay, but when experimentally it will be determined, because Some people suppose perform an experiment and try to find out the any of the colligative property while preparing the same number of moles of solution. Then suppose that is known as the observed value. Okay, so the new observed value which is going to be appearing, that may be different. Why it is different? Because you can see in this case, before the preparation of solution and after the preparation of solution, the number of moles of the solution changes. This is just an example. It's not necessary that every time the 2 moles are going to be appearing. This is just an example. So because it will get dissociated, it means it is now because of this dissociation, the number of moles of the solute are changing in the solution. So when it is changing, so calculated value and observed value is definitely going to be different. Okay, one more example I can tell you. Like suppose if you have we can consider any compound, like suppose benzoic acid C6H5COOH. Okay, then what happened with benzoic acid? Suppose you have used the 2 moles of benzoic acid before preparation of the solution, but once the solution is prepared, these kind of compounds, some compounds are there, like benzoic acid is there, like ethanoic acids, they used to form a dimer. Okay, they will form a molecule that is dimer, that is they will associate, that is C6H5COOH whole twice is going to be obtained. They will get associate. Here you have seen the dissociation, but here the association can also happen. So it means with solute to solute it can differ. Like here in case of electrolyte, dissociation was there and number of moles of solute changes. Here also it is changing, but it is due to not dissociation, it is due to the association and the formation of dimers. Okay, so here starting the number of moles of solution was 2 mole, but after that the number of moles changes to 1/2. Okay, so like that the change can occur. So it means that again when you calculate any colligative property, that is the calculated colligative property, okay, it will be not coming equivalent to observed colligative property. Okay, it means a kind of abnormality will be arising when you are calculating the colligative property or when you are observing by doing the experiment you are finding the value, because the number of moles of solute are getting differ in some cases, not every cases, in some cases like where dissociation is taking place or association is taking place. Okay, so in order to correct this thing in order to calculate the correct colligative property in case of association or dissociation, a factor is introduced which is known as Van't Hoff factor. Okay, so let's discuss the Van't Hoff. You can see the Van't Hoff factor here. Now in Van't Hoff factor, it is represented by the symbol I, as you can see. Okay, so basically Van't Hoff factor is equivalent to what? It is equivalent to the total number of particles after dissociation oblique association divided by the total number of particles before dissociation oblique association. Okay, so in order to correct the all colligative properties, we use a Van't Hoff factor, which is in the case of dissociation or association. So it will be always a ratio of total number of particles after dissociation or association to the total number of particles before dissociation or association. Now I will be explaining you with the help of example. One example of dissociation and one example of association we are going to use. So first, the case of dissociation we are going to take. Okay, so dissociation, so we will be continuing with our same example like sodium chloride. Suppose sodium chloride is there and it will be undergoing dissociation. When we have seen this example previously, we have used the case of 100% dissociation, but here now I'm not taking the 100% case because all electrolyte cannot undergo 100% dissociation. Suppose it will undergo dissociation, and on dissociation it will be giving Na plus and chloride ion, okay, and after some time the dissociated and undissociated molecules will be having a equilibrium. Now before the starting of the reaction, the number of moles of NaCl we considered as 1, and the number of moles of the molecules which are dissociated will be 0, because obviously the reaction hasn't started. But once the equilibrium is established, suppose alpha are the molecules which get dissociated. This you have done before that also, okay, in the chemical kinetics, okay. So if you remember that, so suppose alpha are the molecules which are getting dissociated, okay. So it means 1 minus alpha molecules are going to be left from NaCl, because 1 is the total in the beginning and no particle dissociated at the time. After, when the equilibrium is established, suppose 1 minus alpha particles get dissociated, so it means it will be remaining only with 1 minus alpha, and now alpha particles of Na and alpha particles of Cl are going to be getting dissociated. So when you put all this value in this formula, what this formula will become? I will be equivalent to total number of particles after dissociation oblique association. Dissociation means total number of particles after dissociation is 1 minus alpha plus alpha plus alpha, okay, 1 minus alpha plus alpha plus alpha upon total number of particles before dissociation, that is only 1, so it become 1 only in this case, okay. So finally it will become alpha will be cancelled, so it become 1 plus alpha, okay. So like that you can calculate the value of Ventov factor using the, if you know the how much is the degree of dissociation, because alpha generally represent degree of dissociation, okay. So if you know that, you can calculate the value of Ventov factor. Now we see one case of association also. Suppose the same case we are taking, like benzoic acid C6H5COOH, 2 molecules of it we are using, and it will be undergoing the association, but again I am saying maybe all particles not get associated, some get associated. So this is the example. It is forming a dimer, as you can see. Before starting, 2 moles of benzoic acid were there and no molecules of the dimer is going to be there. When equilibrium is established, suppose alpha is the molecule which get associated, so it means it is left with 2 minus alpha, okay. But here the molecules which are formed are going to be alpha by 2, okay, because it is 1 by 2, it means alpha by 2, okay, is the molecule formed. So the value of I will be equivalent to what? Total number of particles after association. After association means 2 minus alpha plus alpha by 2 divided by 2, okay. That depends upon the number of moles, that may differ for the different kind of the reactions. So basically what is going to happen? Alpha minus alpha by 2, that is 2 minus alpha by 2, that is divided by 2. So like that you can calculate the value of the Ventov factor in the case of association. This is just an example, okay. So that is how you can calculate the value of Ventov factor using the association and dissociation, okay. So you have to see in the numerical, because generally it is going to come in numerical. So you have to see whether the case of association they want to have, or whether the case of dissociation is there. So accordingly you will be using the things, okay. Then once you find the Ventov factor, you can directly introduce this Ventov factor in the colligative property, like relative lowering of vapor pressure. If you remember, P naught A minus PA minus P naught A upon PA is equivalent to X, that is the mole fraction of the solute. So we'll be using I with it. I will be introduced with it. If suppose the elevation in the boiling point is there, that is delta TB equal to I KBM, it is going to be like that. Only I is going to be introduced with every colligative property. Then delta TF will be equivalent to I KFM, okay. So that is going to be the case. And if the osmotic pressure case is going to be there, then it will be equivalent to pi equal to ICRT. Okay, so if suppose directly the value of Venthoff factor is given to you, you can use that value to find any of the colligative property and that will be coming correct. Okay, and suppose whatever the abnormal molar mass and normal molar mass. Now abnormal molar mass means because the dissociation is happening, so there will be some abnormality coming in the molar mass of the substance. Okay, because suppose we know that sodium chloride is having 58.5 gram molar mass. Okay, but when it get dissociated, the molar mass will change, that it become abnormal. So in such case, the abnormal molar mass you can find by putting the value here and you can calculate the answer. Okay, that is abnormal molar mass you can find with the help of this formula. Like suppose I am giving you the example of elevation in boiling point, like delta TB equivalent to I. Okay, if you know the value of I, that depends, and Kb value will be known to you. Then M is molality, which you know. So here you can use the formula of Wb upon Mb multiplied by Wa into 1000. So when you use this formula, this Mb which you can calculate here will be your abnormal molar mass. Okay, so abnormality will be there only when the case of dissociation or association will be there, because then only the case of Venthoff factor will be there. So that will be mentioned in the numerical, that whether the case of association or dissociation is there or not. Okay, or you can imagine also with by seeing that electrolyte. Okay, if electrolyte is there, then definitely the case of the dissociation will be there. Okay, and then in that case, if suppose you have to find the value of I first, use these thing, that is I equivalent to 1 plus alpha upon 1, or whatever the equation. Like suppose if it is magnesium chloride, suppose I am giving you the example of magnesium chloride, if it will dissociate, it will dissociate like what, Mg plus, okay, 2 plus 2Cl negative. Now in this case 1 minus alpha will be there, but here it will be alpha plus alpha and 2 alpha will be there. So in this case, if you find the value of I, it will be coming 1 minus alpha plus 2 alpha. So 1 plus 2 alpha by 1 ohm. Okay, so like that the equation is coming. So that depends upon electrolyte also, how the equation is going to be there. Then if you put the value of degree of dissociation, you can find it easily. Okay, and same is in the case of association also. So that is how the equations are going to be, and you can find the abnormal molar mass also. Okay, again I am saying abnormality will be there when there a case of dissociation or association will be there. So then only you will be finding the abnormal molar mass, that is Mb in this case. Okay, so that is one important thing. So that is how all colligative properties are all about. Now we are going to discuss the numericals in our next video, okay, based on the colligative property. So that is all for today. So please subscribe it, like my channel, okay, and share it to maximum. See you in the next video.